Today we're gonna today we're gonna talk about. No, I'm gonna riff on. Oh, I don't know what to call it. We're gonna riff. I'm gonna riff on the impact of title in an organization, and how a title gives you a seat at the big people's table, and how a title impacts who's going to take your call, who's going to take the meeting, and what meetings you're going to get invited to. And I'm going to argue that typically skip level impact is rare or semi-rare and really only happens skip level. That's where somebody will take your call or listen to you that's more than one level away. I'm not talking about one org away, but one level away. And the way people figure out how far away you are is either who you report to or what the role is. And so in my experience, title directly impacts who's going to take the call. And that's because in an org, typically people will take the call from one level away. So if I'm a senior director, I'll take meetings from a director usually, but typically I might end up in a peer off, and that means I'm only going to go to a meeting where other people at my level are in, or maybe one level below. And there's this whole notion of skip level communication. I envy organizations that have that. The smaller ones, I've seen that before. The larger ones tend to make that difficult because there's just too many players and too much connectivity. And so a skip level thing tends to have to be deliberate. Whereas one level off or the same level is accidental or consistent, right? So when you get hired into an org, a title implies capability and gives you instant credibility, because you don't have any credibility when you're new in an org, and you don't have any connectivity, right? So the title gives you kind of an instant level of connectivity. And typically, I'm going to say the director title and above is the one that gets the cross-team meetings. They get invited to the cross-company events. Those are the decision makers. If there's an offsite, it's the director title to have it. When I'm talking about title here, I'm really talking about a real title and not one they gave you to not have to pay you, or not a title that you made up yourself so you could make yourself look important on LinkedIn. I'm talking about an effective title inside the organization that's tied to pay band and influence, right? The credibility that gives you. So a lot of times they'll tell you when you get hired, hey, you should be hired one level lower because you'll be able to compete better because you're more capable. I've seen it happen to really smart people and me. And typically, it's true. It does help you in a Jack Welch org that you're less likely to be cut. But in my opinion, that's total BS where they don't want to pay you as much. And also, it is a lot easier to get hired into a title than it is to move up in a title, right? Because you're pretty much completely outside the competitive rating system when you get hired. And once you're inside, it becomes more difficult. So the main... probably the last thing here, because I was going to try and make this under 3 minutes. No, there's two other things. One is hierarchical imbalance. I want to thank somebody who gave me this comment. And so typically it's title to title, level to level. So every people that report to a VP all can be invited to meetings that report to a VP. Now, I created some imbalance in this org, and that's the case where a director might report to a VP, and a senior, every parts of the org, it's a senior director might report to the VP. Even though the depth in that org those two orgs might be the same, the title gives a higher level of credibility, and it may be that the directors may get cut out of a particular meeting if it was VPs and senior VPs. Man, I make this sound like it's not a meritocracy. It is a partial meritocracy, but the main thing is people have to know who to include, and in a meritocracy without title implies people know who you are. So if you're highly connected, it helps. Otherwise, the title is sort of your, the secret password to get into the speakeasy here. Probably the last thing I'm going to talk about, because I wanted to make this short, was compensation. Everybody inside this circle here is compensated on a completely different pay plan. They never talk about this. And so you get a title, and it's like the super secret handshake. I'm going to argue that director and above in non-banks, well, actually banks too, right? Because it turns out they're on a different compensation plan, a different pay plan in most places. There's an actual bonus plan. There's performance bonuses. There's retention bonuses. Those happen outside the circle in the gray boxes, but really it's sort of the sneaky secret handshake thing that, I worked at a couple banks, and the director bonus was double the regular person bonus, right? And in a lot of cases, there's profit sharing or other things that just don't exist, and nobody talks about it. So really, why do you need a title when you're in a large organization? It confers instant credibility. It implies capability. It gets you included in the conversation, and it dramatically affects your compensation. Have a great day.